talking about is King of Schnorrers. Does anyone know what a schnorrer is? Anybody? Ooh, schnorrer. For those of you who don't know, you're getting quite a Yiddish lesson tonight. A schnorrer is a Yiddish term for a clever rogue who lives by manipulating situations to make it seem like the victim's religious duty to support the schnorrer in style. King of Schnorrers started at the Clermont Theater on Theater Row in 1979, and after a fantastic New York Times review, transferred to the Playhouse Theater on Broadway, where it got a mediocre Times review and closed in less than 2 months.
The King of Schnorrers was based on an 1894 novella by Israel Zangwill about an Ashkenazi cabinet maker in 18th century London, trying to woo the feminist daughter of the Sephardic king of the Schnorrers. The father dislikes the cabinet maker because he merely works for a living and is not clever enough to schnorr. This was a Jewish show, just like Borshkapades, although Variety was careful to note, this is no Fiddler in the Ghetto.
The production values were inventive, with a dull-colored set and very colorful costumes, turning the cast members into an animated storybook. Although, Marilyn Stasio noted, unless your name is John Gay or Bertolt Brecht, it is not a good idea to open your musical with a pack of colorful beggars wearing stylized rags and clamorously hawking rubber fish and chickens. Unless your show is a miracle of musical art, it will put a person in mind of those god-awful folktale musicals that proliferated on and off Broadway in the late 60s and culminated in the abominable Pippin. These are also, though, there are so many critics that write very insightful things, but everything is just one person's opinion, so, one person's Pippin is another person's King of Schnorrers.
Variety noted a witty highlight in the song, I Have Not Lived in Vain, performed by 31-year-old Ed Dixon, performing his first Broadway solo. The New York Times said, Zangwill had a marvelous humor and wit, and Walden has caught the spirit nobly. You don't have to be Jewish to enjoy it. Grover Dale has directed and choreographed with great style and joy. In supporting roles, Ed Dixon is a wonderfully foppish, rich, and self-indulgent Sephardi who is trying to evade his obligations to the synagogue. Here to speak about and perform his number from the original production of King of Schnorrers, Ed Dixon.
Well, I was very thrilled to get this off-Broadway show, which opened the Harold Clermont. But here's something interesting. The week before it became the Harold Clermont Theater, it was a whorehouse. And not just any whorehouse, a 1970s 42nd Street whorehouse. So when we moved in, we were afraid to sit on any flat surface. As they told you, we opened on a slow news day. Everybody came. We got a rave review in the New York Times. So the next day, you couldn't get in to the little whorehouse that had become the Harold Clermont Theater. So our producers moved us to a Broadway house without adding one set, one prop, one costume, or one orchestration. So when we got on the great big stage of the 48th Street Playhouse, our little show looked like an ant trying to fuck an elephant. And when we were re-reviewed, that's what they said. This was my first big song in a Broadway show, and my first big part in a Broadway show, and I loved it. And about this song, you see, there was this fop, Belasco, who was having a passionate love affair with his clothing. And during this number, he flings wide the door of his armoire, and his clothing comes to life and dances with him in choreography by Grover Dale. It was my favorite moment of the show, and I loved it. And Grover's choreography was marvelously inventive. I have not sung this song since 1980. So if I go up on the words, please feel free to call them out. Ladies and gentlemen, something that none of us ever thought we would hear. I have not lived in vain from King of Schnorrers. When I think of all the passion that one expends on fashion, I realize that life isn't all champagne. But then I get a rosy glow, just knowing as I know, I have seems so inhumane. But I ignore the sacrifice. All artists pay a price. I have not lived in vain. For man does not live by bread alone. He needs cravats and feathered hats and shoes to complement his spats. Yet out he goes in unmatched clothes. Oh, I thank God I'm not one of those. I know my clothes will always be the true epic of me. All if I carry on my calling, though tastes remain appalling, and trends keep growing harder to ascertain, then when the pack has been outrun, when all is said and done, my wardrobe shall remain, proving fabulously I have not lived in. Well, I didn't know I could still do that. Nothing.